Welcome to BYG Law University. This video is for those who are law students on a budget, trying to learn cases, and if you're just interested in the law and you're looking to learn more about it, this video is also for you as well. You can learn about real property for free. These are actual cases that we're studying in the California School of Law, which is a great school for anyone looking for flexibility. I highly recommend it if you're looking to get into law school. It's affordable and it's very flexible. So this course is going to be about Real Property 2, and later on I will be making videos about tort law, criminal law, and contracts law, and Real Property 1. Currently right now I'm in Real Property 2, so if you're watching this video and you're subscribed to the channel, just hang in there and I will upload more videos in the future about those other topics if you're a first-year law student looking to pass that. But if you're already a second year and you're in real property and you already passed Real Property 1, this video is for you. The first lesson that we're going to talk about is adverse possession. So adverse possession is a legal way for you to take land that is not legally yours. One of the very first cases that we studied is called Brown versus the Gobbles. It's a very simple case, one of the very first cases that we learned, and we're going to go over it and dig into it right now. So I'm going to show you exactly how this happened here, how one person managed to take away somebody else's land. So you got two families. On one side, you have the Gobbles. And on the other side, you have the Browns. So we got B for Browns there. Now, they were neighbors. And between them was this tiny strip of land, which is this line that you see here. But that little strip was fenced in. And the Gobbles have been using it like it was theirs for decades. They had access to it. They had control over it. It was theirs, according to them. Now, the Browns, then they show up one day and said, hey, that land, this strip of land here, actually belongs to us. So there was a disagreement. They filed the complaint, and then they tried to shut the Gobbles down. But the Gobbles, they're not pussies. They didn't back down. They didn't back off. They countered. They said this land is ours. And they played the legal trump card, which is the whole purpose of this video, which is adverse possession. Let me fix that word there because I spelled that wrong there. Adverse possession. That is what they went to court with. So adverse possession is how you take land legally that isn't yours without having to pay for it. And yes, you're hearing that correctly. That is a real case, a real way for you to take land that is not yours without having to pay for it. Now, how did they do that? I'm going to tell you exactly how they did that. So one of the things that you have to memorize in Real Property 2 is the word oceans. Now, if you've never seen the ocean, I highly suggest you get a life, get a car, drive down to the coast, go look at the ocean. But that's not the ocean that we're talking about here. Ocean actually stands for a couple of words here. Now, in order for adverse possession to work, the person who is going to be taking control and taking over of the property must act according to these terms here. So the Gobbles were acting openly. They were not hiding it that the property was theirs. They were acting like it was theirs. They were advertising it to the entire world. That's what openly means. They're open to it. They're not hiding it. That's one of the requirements. Number 2 is continuous. That is what the C in ocean stands for. They were using the property nonstop. They were acting like it was theirs the whole time. Just like how you have your car, just like how you have your home. You use it all the time. It's yours. No one else has access to it. That is another requirement. The E is that it must be exclusive. So that means that no one else has right to it. So the Gobbles weren't sharing that property with the Browns. They weren't sharing that property with anybody else. They were exclusively using it. Just how you exclusively own your home, just how you exclusively own your apartment, your car, no one else uses it. It's exclusively yours. That's the next requirement. A is adversely. So that means that they used it against the real owner's rights without permission. They were using the land like it was theirs. It was 100% theirs. In their mind, it was theirs. It did not belong to the Browns. That is what adverse means. They were using the property. They didn't care about the Browns. They didn't care if the Browns gave them permission. They were just using it because they're G's. They're just gangster like that. Now, the N in oceans stands for notorious. So that means that it's obvious to everyone in the world that it's there. So if you're looking at it from the outside in, you're thinking, hey, that property definitely belongs to them. So that's what oceans, and we'll get to the S right now here in just a second. Those are some of the requirements when you're dealing with adverse possession. So if you're trying to determine if, hey, this person may own this land, remember the word oceans. Open, continuous, exclusive, adversely, and notorious. Now, if you really want to make sure that that you win your claim, which is what the Gobbles did, you have to add that S at the end. That's what this S is for. Now, the S stands for the statutory period that the jurisdiction has. So this state had a statutory period of 10 years. The Gobbles used the property for more than 10 years. They assumed it was theirs for that long. Now, say you're just like the Gobbles and you've only been living there for about a year, and then the Browns come to you with some lawsuit saying that the property is theirs and they're trying to file a suit against you because they think they're going to win against you. But because you're so intelligent and so smart, you do something that's called tacking. So that means when you bought the property from the previous owner, you can add the years that owner had the access to the property to yours to meet that statutory requirement. So if you've only been living on the property for a year and you bought the property, let's say, off of X person, and they lived on that property for, let's say, 9 years, you can add their 9 years plus your 1 year. You can tell the judge, hey, person X lived on this property for 9 years. I've been living in it for 1 year. I satisfy the 10-year requirement. So you're allowed to do that by law. And because the Gobbles were able to do that, they were able to keep the property. So they had all of it. They satisfied the requirement, oceans. So remember that when dealing with adverse possession, oceans. So they had all of it. They were there for 7 years, and then the previous owners actually lived on that property for 20 years. So that satisfaction was blown out of the water. They met it. The judge agreed with them. They bought the property from the people who already had been using that strip of land. They met oceans. Oceans. That's all you got to remember. Oceans. Now, in the beginning, the lower court, the judge probably didn't watch this video and didn't know about oceans, because the lower court, the trial court, ended up ruling for the Browns. The Browns won. Now the Gobbles, they weren't just gonna give up. They weren't gonna just throw in the towel because they're a gangster like that. They decided to put up dukes, and they decided to appeal. So they appealed to the West Virginia Supreme Court, and they ended up flipping it. The Gobbles appealed, and they won. Why? See, if you're paying attention, it's because of oceans. So that wraps the whole concept of adverse possession. Now remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a little bit more details to that, but that is the main point of this case. The Gobbles managed to walk away with legal title to that land that wasn't even theirs to begin with on paper. They managed to get away with it for free. Now, if you're asking yourself, Mr. Big, can I just go onto somebody else's property, live on it for 10 years, pretend it's mine, be oceans about it, open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, notorious, and meet the state statutory period? Will the property be mine? Legally, yes. Yes, it can. For free. But you need to meet oceans. If you don't meet oceans, then don't come to me, because you're going to lose. And we don't deal with losers here. We win. That's all we do here. The Gobbles knew how to play the long game, and the law backed them up for it. So, again, this is why you learn the law. You don't just study cases, you learn how to weaponize them, and you learn how to control other people's property. If you know the law, you can control the property, you can control power. Now, if you don't understand stuff like adverse possession, let me break it down for you. Someone else can use your land while you're sleeping and take the property away from you if they meet oceans. So you better act on it. You better make sure that if you see somebody using your property, and if they meet oceans, you could lose your property. And I'm not going to represent you if you do. Case closed.